All right, so now in this video what we're going to take a look at is importing or inserting the AutoCAD file we created earlier. Okay, a couple things that you want to keep in mind before you get started is you need to take a look at your model information. Okay, first, if you take a look at your units, you want to make sure that you're using architectural. The precision right now is not so important, but if you have 1/16, that's pretty precise. If you just had 0 inches, that would suffice. Okay, we're not doing that much detail in design. So if you just left it the default 1/16, that's fine. Also, you can enable length snapping, and then for your angles, 15 degrees should be enough, so you could find 30 and 45. Okay? Now, once you have that, then the next thing is you want to take a look at layers, okay? Because you're going to need layers to organize the model. One of the most important ones here is going to be the XREF layer, okay? And this will be the layer on which you will place the AutoCAD reference, all right? You will continue to create additional layers as you see in your notes, and that way we'll be able to use those layers to organize those components. All right, so once you go through your list, you should have prepared a list like what you see here, okay? I use the $sign so I can separate the layers that I created in SketchUp versus the layers that I'm importing from the AutoCAD file, okay? I use separate layers so I can control the two different things separately. So, for example, what we're going to do first is we're going to keep layer 0 always current, all right? But for this one time, we're going to switch over to the XREF layer, and this is the layer that we're going to place our DWG on. So, we can get rid of this character. We can use a top view. So if you don't have your view toolbars, make sure you have all the necessary view toolbars, right? And using the top view here with the layer XREF current, we're going to use File, and then we're going to use Import. Now you just got to remember where you saved your floor plan file, okay? Okay, so once we locate the DWG that we're going to use for reference, simply select it, because you need to take a look at your options. When you open your options there, we're going to merge coplanar faces, orient faces consistently, use inches for units, and preserve the drawing origin. Click OK to save those settings, and then make sure down here at Files of Type that you have DWG so you can actually see it. And once you check those settings, just go ahead and open. Now it'll be a moment before it converts and gives you the import results. If you see this, the import is successful. When you close it, then you can zoom extents and make sure you see the entire floor plan. Now as you zoom close, or as you select anything, you're going to notice, right? Anything that was a block is now a component, right? All line work here is individual, right? So you can see the individual separate lines that represent the finish and the base wall. And so before we proceed, what we need to do here is we need to make sure that this floor plan is all one single component, okay? So to do that, you can see if I get into an ISO view, right, it's sitting right at 0. So first thing I want to do is just create a window selection all around it, making sure the whole thing is highlighted like you see, and then right over it, not like this in an empty area, but right over some of the line work, right click and make this into a component. The important thing here, whenever you're making components, is make sure you replace the selection with the component. Give the component a name, which might be helpful for you. So I'll just put here DWG reference. Okay, and then create. What you'll notice now is if you touch any part of it, the entire thing is highlighted. That's how you know it's successful. All right. Now, here's the thing. The way that we're going to use this floor plan, right, is we're going to be tracing the outlines. Now we have an elevated or a raised platform in which our finished floor elevation is around 4 feet. Right now this floor plan is sitting at 0 feet elevation. So what I'll like to do here is use the move tool, and using the Z axis, right, you'll notice there the blue extension line, okay, push it along the Z axis, and then in the bottom right corner you're going to see your the bottom left hand corner you're going to see your dimensions. You could just type in there 4 feet and then enter. Now when I orbit, you should actually see it floating above the origin. Okay, you could even confirm simply by using the tape measure, measuring from the origin up to anywhere on the floor plan. All right, once you have that confirmed, then make sure that the object, if you're not sure, this component, if you right click over it, look at entity info, make sure it's on the correct layer, XREF layer. Use Control T to deselect all items anytime. Control T. Use spacebar to come always back to selection mode. Okay, that would be a very big tip as you model. Now, if I select the component again, you can see it's still blue, which means that it's editable. So to prevent any editing, right click again and lock it this time. So it's in the right position, the right elevation, and now we can start using it as a reference. One thing I'll mention before we start actually modeling is take a look at your styles. We're going to spend a lot of time with styles, but later on. At this time, I would ask you to use one of the default styles. And you can see there's quite a few different styles there. But when you take a look at something like the architectural style, or if you look at the default style, okay, you'll notice that it uses very simple, very clean line work. No fancy edges. And in most cases, you can look at the edit and check the settings for the face settings. You can see that this is showing textures and shaded with colors. Okay, but you can modify this, and eventually you should have multiple styles for editing the model, for presenting the model, both in color and in black and white, and then fancy and simple styles. So we'll come back to styles later. While you model, keep it simple. Now, once you take a look at your layers, you're going to see a whole lot more layers, right? And you'll notice, test it out. Look at the layer called A-Wall Comp. You can see if I turn it off, all I see now are the base walls, right? So you'll have individual control of the model information, that is your AutoCAD reference here, right? And as I continue, you're going to be making layer 0 current. And now you can see that if I take that XREF layer and I turn it off here, you can see that the entire floor plan is hidden, right? So with one layer, I can turn on and off the floor plan, and then with these other layers, I can turn off certain entities, right? So you have complete control. So we got the location, got the elevation, we got it organized in the layer. Now we're ready to start modeling. So what I would recommend you do is go ahead and save as, and then save it to your project directory. And in the next video, we'll start with building the floor. Finish that. All right, we're going to save this as the house model into my cottage house model project folder. You can see right next to it, I have a copy of the cottage components. And this will be important because if you copy your file, right, onto your USB and you bring it to class, you'll always have this information with you. Remember that you need to reset the location of the components so that you can actually use them at home as well. So go ahead and save that. And then one last thing, let's just take a look at components here, right? You'll notice here that I don't have my components for the cottage. Actually, I already have them saved here, but I want to show you one more time in the video how we can connect to it. If you use details here you can create a local collection simply by clicking right here and then navigating to the location of the component directory. So again, here I told you I put it into my public documents on Teacher 2, and it's in the cottage house model floor project folder. Here's the cottage components. If I select this, now I add it to my components palette, and then I could add it to my favorites once I have it selected here. And then that way I'll always be able to access my components. All right. In the next video, we're going to take a look at building the walls and the floors and the roofs. Stay tuned.
Okay.